Hello and welcome. Thank you for tuning into Data Demands podcast, where we connect the dots between MarTech and marketing landscape. Stay tuned to MarTech 360 as we explore key strategies for your marketing success.
Hello and welcome to MarTech 360 podcast, where we decode the complexities of marketing technology with industry's top expert. MarTech 360 is more than just a media platform. It's a community of over 1 million marketing professionals who rely on us for trending news, expert analysis, market intelligence, and for things that matter in MarTech. My name is Samarth, and I work with MarTech 360, powered by Data Demand. If you're passionate about the intersection of technology and marketing, this episode is a must listen. Today, we have an extraordinary guest with us, Marc Sirkin, the CEO of Third Door Media, now part of SEMrush family. Marc is a visionary leader whose approach to leadership is rooted in strategic thinking and adaptability. With a background in product and technology, Marc brings hands-on approach to executing high-impact initiatives that resonates with audience and drive digital transformation. Under his leadership, the Third Door Media continues to innovate and thrive, ensuring it remains the beacon of excellence in ever-changing landscape of lead generation. Welcome to the show, Marc, and I'm sorry for a long and extensive introduction.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the intro. That sounds familiar. That sounds like my LinkedIn about section. I don't know. Like, did I write that?
Maybe we might have, looked at your LinkedIn.
Maybe. Anyway, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. It's really truly, exciting to have you, Marc. Your journey in lead generation has been nothing short of transformative. As someone who has closely, observed these shifts myself, I would love to start with your perspective on how do you think that lead generation strategies have evolved, particularly around the changes we have seen before and after the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, it depends how far you want to go back. I've been doing this since the 90s kind of thing. But in terms of more recent, the framework that we've been talking about a lot over the last, let's say, year or so has been this idea of lead gen versus demand gen versus sort of PLG or, self-service or whatever you want to call it. And it's interesting because, applying the right methodology in the right scenario, even within a certain company, within a product could vary. And it has evolved. And I think it's gotten simultaneously easier to execute tactically, but much harder to find sustained success. There's a bit of a herd mentality. You see something work and everybody rushes in and does that. I was in a very funny conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about, are webinars ever going to die? We've had webinars for like 20 years. It's a very mature platform. When you get the right alchemy of conversation like this and learning, it can be really powerful, but it's also easy to do a poor one, right? Easy to do one that just doesn't have a great title. It doesn't have a great speaker. It's selling at the wrong time. I think the other thing that's changed, and then we can kind of dive in, is, the kind of traditional funnel, top, middle, bottom, all that stuff. My time at PwC, I really dove into and absorbed and learned, about chaos theory and how humans, it's not linear. It's worse than not linear. It's insane, right? And you've got buying committees, and again, it depends on the context, and we can tune it towards B2B, enterprise, SMB, mid-market, or B2C. It's all different. It's evolved. Right. I think it's gotten harder. The last thing I'll say is I think that we're seeing this really interesting pendulum swing. Brand used to be something we talked a lot about, and it seems like we stopped talking about it, especially in B2B. And now it's back with a vengeance, except you can't measure it the way you measure a lead gen campaign. So anyway, we can dive into all that stuff. I think ultimately it's gotten a lot harder, and, we probably should talk about AI, because AI is also going to be, for good or bad, for effective or ineffective, a factor.
Right. No, AI, we have included AI, and AI is not something that can be missed out in today's, ever-changing tech landscape, which is evolving and driving businesses, making it more easier. And but you pointed out, the changes in the entire, and you, like you rightly mentioned, it is B2B enterprise, change has been dynamic, and I believe, these small yet valuable practices that has evolved over a period of time has helped, driving this, entire industry, and which is driven by circumstances, because it's such a dynamic, fast pace that everybody wants to jump on this and see how we can move and create something with their sheer creativity, passion, and probably building on that, the entire period of pandemic has made us realize the importance of being at the moment. Things that I've been observing, that how businesses are navigating this evolving landscape with tech bringing in a lot of changes. Considering the changes, within the lead generation strategies, what do you think businesses should prioritize now to stay ahead in this dynamic landscape evolution?
I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar question, so it's a good one. Again, I think a lot of it depends on where you are in the maturity of your brand and your company and your product. A startup might choose a different set of tactics than a mature brand.
Yep.
Look, I think, and I feel like I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about brand today, just because I think it's top of mind for me, which is like, again, in a world of commoditized tools, AI powering messaging, marketing teams getting blown out across the universe, right? Like a lot fewer resources. That's one of the challenges that we have, frankly, is that our customers, they want to engage, but there's nobody left on the marketing teams. So, who do we talk to right? It's sort of a weird thing. It's like, you do great lead gen, but we just have nobody here. Like there's nobody even talking.
Yep.
So I think that, understanding where you are and what your capabilities are and mapping those capabilities to the kind of lead gen that you need. And again, like I can speak to it from a third row media standpoint, but we also work with, all of our customers who we can see are struggling with the same things. And even, it's interesting. You mentioned getting acquired by SEMrush. My conversations with my colleagues on the marketing side, on the product side at SEMrush echo the same kind of things. Like, well, what are the right tactics? Where do we invest? How do we do this? And again, I think at the end of the day, it's like, if you understand who you're going after, I'll oversimplify it, right? If you understand who you're going after, you understand your ICP, however you want to define it, you understand different channels and tactics reach people at different points in the buying process. It's not that complicated, except it's really hard, right? It's like, yeah. And so I think you have to be really savvy. You have to be really smart. You have to really be willing to, especially in the last, coming out of the pandemic, there's this interesting thing where I think we as humans want to go back in person, right? In fact, we just announced this week that our SMX Advanced conference is coming back in person. Not yet MarTech, maybe one day soon, but the SMX conference, SMX Advanced, will be in Boston this June, because there's this desire, this real pent up desire to get back in person. But that show is going to be a fraction of the size of our virtual conference. And so, for a salesperson or a sales team, you want that interaction, that one-on-one interaction. You can build relationships, but you're also getting a much smaller, it's a much smaller footprint of an event. And so,
right.
Again, it's not complicated, but it's really, really hard. And you have to really be deliberate, because these investments that you make, whether it's in content development, video, like you're doing with the video and the podcast, or, a white paper, whatever, these things all have huge investments. And, again, I go back to sort of the pendulum. In this search for certainty, everybody wants to know, if I put $1 in here, how many dollars I get at the bottom? And it's like, I just don't know if it works that way. It's like, I've been on both sides. I've bought software. I've bought SaaS software. I've built SaaS software and sold SaaS software. And it's like, it just is never what you think. And so it's like, how do you project? How do you understand what the ROI is? And then how do you be confident that, hey, even though it's not working the way we thought, we know we're doing the right things. We're investing in the right places. So it's really invigorating and it's really exciting, but it's also a bit of a high wire act.
Right. No, absolutely. I think, at any stage, the organization is the actions that they want to take to stay ahead and solve the problem which is at their hand is something that, every business should look into it, because now we have so many options, so many of priorities, and it's changing. It's changing. The consumers are demanding something, the customers are demanding, the platforms are creating a niche of their own, which is driving. So, you can't depend on or rely on the traditional models. So you have to look at what's in your hand and how you can, make it better. That's the way I look at it. Now, while we speak of priorities, with the changes, I'm sure with all these tech platforms, all these omni-channel, multi-channel coming into picture, the overall tech spending is also changing. What shifts have you observed in the tech, spending patterns undertaken by the companies in the recent years?
Yeah, I think there's two. Let me speak. Maybe I'll come to the third. But I think there's two broad things that I think we see. One, as I mentioned earlier, marketing teams over the last 18 months have been blown out as far as we can tell. Whether it's cutbacks or shifts in strategy, whatever it might be, they have less resources. Less resources may not be a function of less money to spend, but there's less resources to organize the efforts. Some version of that is true for some companies. Obviously, I'm speaking super generically, not true for everybody.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's interesting, and again, talk about pendulum swings, every, the thought that every software company should be a media company, right? We hear this all the time. So, we should be a media company. We should do TikTok or YouTube or whatever. Well, maybe. We've seen some successes of that. Obviously, HubSpot, hopefully, we'll continue with third-party media and our properties within SEMrush, Search Engine Land, and MarTech. And maybe that adds a lot of real value and ROI to the bottom line. But from a spend standpoint, what that commitment sometimes, again, generically means is that money gets taken out of the market and in-house. We're going to hire 3 video people. We're going to hire content people. We're going to build our blog so that from our perspective, third-party media's perspective, it's like, if you can pull that off, great. We're here when that doesn't work because it's really, really hard, right? The tendency for brands to oversell, let's just say, right? Oh, we have this great blog and we were years ago providing all this really helpful content and white papers, and then we weren't getting the return, so we started selling on it, and now all of a sudden it doesn't work at all, right? And again, generically, I'm not accusing anybody. Some people
absolutely
it's really hard, right? It's like you're navigating this thing, and you've got different stakeholders, whether it's sales or the execs or the board or the marketing team, customer service, whatever it might be. And so I think changes in staffing, and then this sort of mentality of like, we can do lead gen or demand gen ourselves is not impossible, but it's tricky. It's tricky. And the problem, of course, is that just from an operational standpoint, OpEx versus CapEx, right? Like if I hire a bunch of people, I got a bunch of people, and now I got a bunch of people, and I can't. It's not variable costs. If the campaign with martech.org works, I can just add more money to it and get more leads, right? So I think that's all really interesting. The other thing that's interesting about lead gen is the collision with, GTM or ABM strategies, where it's like, you know what? I don't want 500 leads from this webinar. I want 30 good ones. And so how do we get 30 good ones? And that's tough because you get into, what is a good one? Is that a person like we would joke like, the ideal lead is a person with like a checkbook and a pen. Like it's like that's rare. And that person, by the way, according to all the research on the whole planet, everybody who's looked at this research, it's like buyers don't want to talk to you as a vendor until the end, right? And so, I think there's a disconnect between what we want as organizations selling something versus what the reality of the buyer journey is today, and that's hard. That's hard. Right. That's like really exciting but really challenging work for everybody. And so anyway, that's and I think, and so I want to eventually talk a little bit about AI, because I think the AI, the coming agentic revolution, might exacerbate this challenge in the short term before we figure it out.
Right. No, absolutely correct. And I personally, I've seen the shifting patterns, and I believe that gaining trust of today's customers is getting difficult, because more they want to experience, and the trust is so fragile because they have so many options. That's another thing which has brought people on the spending patterns or the budget allocations. So while we talk about the spending patterns, marketing teams are shrinking, but the budgets remain the same. This is what I'm assuming. This is what my observation is. Do you think, or in your opinion, are there any patterns that are driving, these budget allocations?
Yeah, I don't know if budgets are staying the same, but let's just assume they're staying the same, and there's less people. I don't know if that's true across the board, but again, I think I mentioned earlier, like as we get further away from COVID, there seems to be this thought, which is a good thought, that like we want to go back in person. We want to meet people in person. And I get it. But let's not have too short-term a memory, right? Like pre-COVID, it was hard to do events. It's still hard to do events. In fact, it's harder now to do events than it was then because it's like 3 times more expensive now than it was pre-COVID.
Yep.
It's going to continue to get more expensive.
Yep.
And there are less people, right? So how many people can you, like, you know, with SMX, we're projecting X number of attendees. Well, I don't really know. Like, it's a guess. Hopefully that many people.
Yeah. Hopefully
but like that person attending is going to pay, you know, $1,200-1,300 for a ticket. They're going to pay $500-600 for a hotel for a couple of nights, a flight if they're not local. Like, you're talking about a $3,000-4,000-5,000 investment. So if the money hasn't changed, okay, maybe they can afford it. But if the person there's fewer people, well, how does that person find a week out of the office to go to the conference, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so there's this, I think, a reckoning coming with all of this productivity we're gaining. And again, like, we'll get to AI, but like, what happens when executive teams start to reduce people even further because of enhanced gains in AI productivity? Now there's one person doing the job before. Well, how does that person go back in person? And I'm not saying that in person is the only thing, but I think that's part of what's happened post-COVID is that B2B software companies have said, we need to get back in front of people. And they're right. And so and over the last 2 years, they've rushed back to in-person events, but those in-person events are 20, 30, 40% smaller than they were pre-COVID. Well, okay, now we have a problem. We have a problem, right? Our cost per lead and all the other stuff go out of whack. Unfortunately, I think what happens is you start to get desperate for ROI, right? So whether it's discounting or sort of being desperate in the marketing tactics or whatever it might be. And again, super generic. There are some people doing incredible work in this area. I'm not applying it across evenly, but I think for the average marketing team, average sales team, it's a really challenging environment. And where you place those bets, is really hard. If let's just pretend for a minute that you're a brand that's invested in, I don't know, TikTok. Like, you're sitting here today on January 17th on what happens on the 19th. Like, is it going to go away? 19th. Yep. We don't know. You make investments in social media platforms and things happen, and all of a sudden, blue skies pop up. I was like, well, how do I invest in all this stuff? And does any of it work? How do I measure it? What's the impact of it? So again, super exciting, but really challenging.
Oh, absolutely. While you were answering, something just popped into my mind. Like, say, for example, today you want to talk to one of your customers about, spending on the channels that, you want them to really, so that it helps them on generating the ROI. So, what would be, if I say that you have $100 as a budget, so what channels would you choose today? And what factors would influence your decision?
Again, I would need more information to actually tell you the answer to the question. Are we like, if we role play, are we a startup? Are we an enterprise? Are we mid-market? Whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, let's assume we are a startup.
So if we're a startup and we have a really innovative product, I think there's a couple of things that I would think about doing with a small budget. I'd probably think about influencers. I probably think about, do I have customers today? Who are they? And do I have a really close relationship with them? And can I cultivate that relationship? Not just from the standpoint of, can they help me improve the product, but can they tell people, are they telling people about it? Right. I think that finding leverage in, when you're talking about really small budgets and innovative marketing strategies, it is critical. So it could be something like a conversation like this that then gets chopped up into 100 different pieces. I've already broke the budget because the problem is a lot of this stuff takes, a lot of time and effort. But, I think that, it's really hard. And again, I go back to brand. Like, how do you build brand? I think building durable brands is probably the single hardest thing to do in marketing.
Agreed.
And you can't do it overnight. You can do sort of really wild, funny marketing tactics to get attention. You can win the attention game if you're willing to go far enough, but that doesn't mean you have a durable, lasting brand. Those things tend to flame out. And so, how do you so if you really want to spend $100 well, it's like, go talk to some customers and find out what's working, and then do more of that. I mean, it's an oversimplified answer,
Right.
but like once you start scaling up and getting a sales team and saying, okay, we do need leads, then the tactics can kind of evolve and change, as you go through. But it's hard. It's like I said, I feel like I keep saying it's like it's exciting, but it's really hard.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Go back to the customers, understand where your customers are, and just keep hitting them. Probably
that's way easier said than done, right? So one of the things,
absolutely,
about 6 months ago, when I became president of Third Door Media, before the acquisition, I said to everybody who I could talk to, like, I'm going to talk to customers. Like I want as the new president, I want to go talk to customers, find out what works, find out what doesn't work. It wasn't a whole marketing effort just to get anybody on the phone. I was like sending follow, hey, it's Mark, I'm new president. It's like nobody, they're all busy. They don't talk to me. And so it's like
100%.
If I can't have quality conversations with my customers, there's a problem. So I did end up having quite a few really good conversations with a couple of our best customers. And it was fascinating to sort of get that inside view of what exactly we're talking about. Yeah. Our teams have been blown out. We have budget. We don't know where to spend it. We don't have to measure this stuff. We did this and we didn't really understand it. We got so many leads from this, but our sales team was overwhelmed and they didn't qualify anybody, right? It's like, it's a whole matrix of stuff that, we Third Door Media are trying to like, what's the best product lineup that fits kind of where our customers are at today, right? Is it a webinar, even though that's a mature product, or is it a white paper, or is it something different like a social media thing? So, really, investing time more than money in your customers is probably an evergreen strategy that we should all do more of, is my guess.
Absolutely. And at the same time, understand the customer and develop the product which they would, like to, use it. And I think that, we all can agree that outreach has transformed dramatically and drastically. Would it be fair to say that, the market has expanded in terms of outreach?
Well, if you're talking about, are you talking about cold outreach or just outreach in general?
The cold outreach.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all addicted to cold outreach, and you just go on LinkedIn for 5 minutes, and you're gonna go like, oh yeah, like I'm getting, I don't know, 3 to 5 a day, sometimes as many as 10 a day. My inbox, I think I have 18,000 messages in my promotion tab.
Wow,
I don't know. It's like I don't know. My wife, whenever she sees my inbox, she's like, "What is going on there?" And I'm like, I don't know. Outreach is interesting to me. So cold outreach is weird because I was talking to Mike Pastor, who runs Martech, yesterday. I think it was this conversation. And I spent 10 years in nonprofit early in my career and learned at the hands of the world-class direct marketing people in the nonprofit space at the March of Dimes, the King Film Society. And, this woman, I remember her name was Barbara, she had a wall of books. They were 18-inch binders of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of direct mail campaigns with variations. Like one ask might have 100 variations, right? And I was like wondering out loud in this conversation, like, I'm sure sophisticated marketers are doing this, but like, I don't think everybody's doing this. Like, are we really testing the way the old DM direct mail universe tested? Have we lost those skills? Because that's what it is, right? It's a paper version.
Yeah.
The reality is that if you in direct mail and traditional direct mail, if you had a 1%, response rate, you win. Well, that's 99% of the people who literally were like, this is junk. This is junk.
Yeah.
Right? And I think unfortunately that's what's happened, but not in a strategic way. So cold outreach has become a poor man's version of direct mail because it's so easy. It feels cheap, right? It feels free, actually. Like, well, we already have Marketo, so let's just send another email. And I think the problem with that is people are sick of it. They're just sick of it. They were probably always sick of it, but it's so overwhelming now. Like I got a LinkedIn message. God bless her. I don't know why she thought I was in education, but she invited me to this like VIP dinner for educators. And I'm like, I don't think I'm an educator. I was like, let me check my resume. No, not an educator. So it's like, bad data combined with automation, combined with weird offers.
Right.
I don't know you. You're reaching out to me on LinkedIn and you're sending me this email. All of that said, have I responded to cold outreach over the years? Absolutely. And I'm on this podcast because you guys emailed me. You're like, hey, I'm like, I don't know who you guys are. Yeah. I mean, I knew who Martech 360 was, but I'm not a regular viewer I didn't even know there was a podcast. I was like, oh, this is cool. So, So we're all busy, right? And we're all kind of like tuning
Right.
our antennas to the things that we individually care about. And the good news is that really savvy outbound marketers who are taking advantage of a generous mindset, give first and not jumping to sell or close too soon, can find success. But you have to recognize that it's in an environment where everyone is grabbing at the attention and they're doing all sorts of weird things. They're trying and experimenting with, you see it on, again, LinkedIn's like the perfect place to go see this, AI generated comments and in-mail outreach and, connecting to email, scraping my data. Like, I don't want any of this stuff, right? Like, I don't think any of us want any of this stuff. But the reality is that, building a pipeline is hard. And and nothing I've said even gets close to the ethical line, right? Then there's a bunch of people who are way on the other side that are like literally like building a database of your data and tracking around the internet. And so I think that cold outreach it just suffers from everyone thinking it's easy. Would be my kind of assessment. And it's so hard. And it requires such a deft touch and the people who are doing the cold outreach are incentivized to sell and close. So there's this weird match, right? Again, not going to work. You do enough of it and it works. It's direct mail. It is literally direct mail, just in a digital format. So I think it's not going to get better before it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I think just search for like AI BDR on Google or you'll go, oh wow. And again, the agentic future of this is a kind of a wild situation where, I'll be vulnerable for a minute. I was so busy the other day when we got back from the holidays. I went away with my family for a few days, and I was really trying to catch up on email on December, I think it was 30th, right? And I fell for an internal phishing email. Oh, God. Really? And as soon as I clicked it, I was like, oh, they got me. I was just plowing through emails. Like, I was not paying attention. Like, click. Oh, what's this? Oh, I'll open this and I'll look at it. Do the thing where you open it in the browser and look at it later.
Right.
So again, like, how do you get a buyer's attention? How do you get a buying team's attention? These are advanced problems that we all lead gen, demand gen, and ultimately PLG too have to grapple with. And I think one framework, a guy I was talking to the other day, he said it very, very simply, and I agree with him. Either people are ready to buy or they're not ready to buy. It's it, right? Like, so if you try to say to somebody who's not ready to buy, that's a mistake. Don't do that. But listening enough to discern whether they are either ready to buy or not ready to buy is a skill that, again, like, there's an incentive issue here with BDRs and SDRs and all of the stuff that's happening. Well, I don't know. It's a flood. It's a 1,000-year flood is what's happened with outbound.
It is. And, especially with the social media content distribution, people have shifted. Usually I like to say, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold.
Yes.
You like to buy things that you think will solve the problem. But if somebody is pressing hard you to buy, you say that, hey, I don't want to buy anything. So it's like a transaction. Buying and selling is an emotion too. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. And again, in a B2B and mid-market enterprise, it's way more complicated than that, because it's not just that person. It's the CFO, the procurement person, the head of marketing, the head of social, whatever.
Absolutely.
And so and that was probably always, buying groups were probably always true, but they were never exposed. And now you can sort of figure it out. Like, okay, there's a bunch of people who are involved with buying this thing, but boy, it doesn't make cold outreach any easier. Like, are you really gonna cold outreach the procurement person? Is that the right strategy? I mean, I guess it could be, but like, wow, that seems wildly aggressive. But then again, what do I know?
Right. No, absolutely correct. And while talking about the entire, while we educate, learn ourselves as well, Third Door Media has always been a leader in this space. Advancing in the educational initiative that you guys have taken, and what kind of impact of these efforts you guys have witnessed in the past, because education is not about you're talking to companies, educating them about the new products that you are launching, and what have you witnessed that how companies responded to these entire educational initiatives? This is only for B2B, or it is at large?
Yeah, I mean, our flywheel at the end of the day, if you will, is that educational and news content. So we produce Martech every day. We produce Search Engine Land every day. We do conferences that aim to connect both us to the community, but also the community to each other. It's most evident. It's most easily seen on Search Engine Land and Google, right? So when Google does something that shakes up the universe, people look to us to help interpret it, right? Same thing in a way with Martech, but Google is such a unique beast in terms of its relationship to the marketing ecosystem. Not everybody uses Marketo. Not everybody uses HubSpot. So the audience gets bifurcated. Issues like email delivery are similar, but not as big as Google, for example, right? So like Google, Yahoo, AOL, all the sort of email delivery stuff on the B2C side, B2B side, it is similar to Google, but not, not quite at the same scale as that. So, that's what drives us, right? That like our relationship and the trust we have. And that's what, truthfully, that's what makes the SEMrush acquisition tricky a little bit, which is we are working really hard to maintain a trust level relationship with our audience and not be biased towards SEMrush. SEMrush does own us and we think they have great products, but that does not mean that everything we write is going to be skewed towards that. That's brand, right? That's brand building. That's like, and we're working really, really hard in different ways on the website to sort of like, how do we, of course we want to promote SEMrush. Of course we want to deliver ROI for the acquisition. Of course we want to do all that. But we also have built Search Engine Land and Martech as brands that people trust and read on a regular basis. And so that's been interesting to see. And you see changes on the website. We're experimenting with all sorts of stuff to sort of test what's the limit of this? Where do you end up hurting yourself versus actually, hey, it's okay, we get it. And it's interesting too, because one of the things that I learned over the last 10 years at Third Door Media is that it doesn't matter if it's sponsored content or not sponsored content. Good content's good content. Doesn't matter. True. And that's hard, right? Because you sort of the gut reaction, if you aren't in our world, you guys as well, right? It's like, yeah, if it's sponsored content, it's probably salesy. I don't want it. But that's not necessarily true. Again, if someone's ready to buy, they want a demo. Show me it, right? If someone's ready to buy, they want the tech details. I want the API spec. I want whatever it might be. If I'm not ready to buy, and you guys have built a leading edge, marketing automation platform, and you're going to give me insights on how your customers are using it, I would like that information, please. Yes, right? So sponsored content by itself is not a bad thing. It's actually quite a good thing. And so we look at all of that as educational content across our whole entire ecosystem. And we try very, very hard, not always successfully, to coach and help our customers, our sponsors, and our advertisers, like, where's the value in this? Is there value in this? And do you understand that, yes, you can do a webinar that is a sort of bottom of the funnel, ready to buy thing where it's like, hey, we're gonna have a special offer. It's gonna be great, 20% off. Like, understand that the kind of people that are gonna go to that are going to act a certain way, and you may not get the other people. So that's fine. You guys decide, whatever it might be. But serving our customers is the flywheel, and the educational content is why Third Door Media, I think, has successfully stayed a thing, why the brand still resonates. And we're guilty too, right? Sometimes we flip it. Sometimes we go over the edge. A couple of years ago, we kind of went a little nuts with pop-ups. And we're like, ugh, this is like, one day I think it was somebody on the team was like, I was on the site this morning and there's like a lot of pop-ups. Like, let's take a fresh look at whether or not that's delivering value. And what we found was it was not delivering a lot of value, not a lot of conversions, not a lot of engagement. People were clicking, but then nothing was happening. And we're like, is the tracking broken, or is this as bad as I think it is? And we ended up getting rid of most of them over the years because we just didn't think they had value. And we felt like it was interrupting the experience of why people come to us in the first place, which is, I want to read this article. It's this, I searched for this, or I found it on your site. I want to read this article. I don't really want to be interrupted. But again, it's that lead gen, demand gen conflict. Like, no, put an offer in front of them. Get them to click. Don't let them read the article. We don't want them to do that, God forbid. Get them to click and buy something. So it's a weird, it's like, but that's media, right? Like that's the thing about all media, whether it's B2B or general media, is like, you got to keep the lights on. You got to pay people to do this stuff. And so it's this interesting, God, it's exciting. I love it. I just love it, but it's a puzzle.
It is, and like I said, that education is important. While we educate, and while we educate others, and we do learn ourselves every day as well. While we are talking about the education, something learned to new about, it's about the the AI. Martech is evolving at the cusp of the AI, and it's a game changer. I've been working for myself with many customers that we work today, and it seems that every business has to adopt in some time or the other, or probably if they don't, they might be left behind. So in your opinion, how can businesses use or adopt AI or AI tools to optimize their process, enhance personalization, and ultimately drive better results? Are these even the the pillars while we use the AI? Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I'm in the AI world. I think it's powerful. I think it
is.
Potentially game changing. Even if it didn't improve one iota beyond what it is today, I think you've got a set of capabilities that are game changing if you can wrap your mind around how best to use them. And again, we talked earlier about how easy it is to do cold outreach and just barf stuff out. It's not effective. And I think that the risks for AI there are a lot of risks for AI. But I mean, the practical B2B marketing risk is that you end up having it write all your copy and it's not very good and da-da-da. And I'm not saying these tools are perfect at all, but I do think that, I can speak for my own team and my own experience is that it's a wonderful gut check confirmation thing. Like, I'm thinking about this. You need some feedback. And each of us evolve our own use of these tools, right? Part of why we launched back a year and a half now, 2 years ago, we launched SearchBot and MarTechBot. So these are OpenAI powered bots that have been trained on our content. So when you go to SearchBot on Search Engine Land, you're talking essentially to the website, and it's evolved. It's okay. It's cool actually. It's not perfect, but it's very interesting. And part of the reason why I thought from a marketing standpoint we should do this for our community goes back to what you said earlier about education. I thought what I was observing with my colleagues was, I rushed ahead. Like, I was like, I'm all in. I want to know all about this. This is amazing. Like, I'm gonna be an advanced user tomorrow. So I did that, but very few people on my team did. And wider, when I would talk to people on LinkedIn and X and Blue Sky, like, again, going back a year and a half ago, there was more fear than there was excitement, which I found interesting. And so I thought we should make MarTechBot and SearchBot be educational tools, not necessarily productivity enhancers, although there is that too. And so we ended up very quickly coming up with this idea of personas, right? So if you go and you look at MarTechBot, there's an email persona and a lead gen persona and a whatever. We did like 8 or 9 or 10 of these. And interestingly enough, I think that because the problem that I saw was that people weren't prompting correctly. So they're pre-prompted. It's like, you don't have to worry about, like, you're an email expert. We did all that for you. And we show you on the page, like, you're at all. And then we even give you some sample prompts, like, do this, and this, and this. And I was getting a huge value out of it as a personal advisor, right? And I've evolved my strategy. I actually have a custom GP. I have a bunch of custom GPTs, but I have a custom GPT that I've been evolving over the last few months. Like, I call it my co-CEO. Paul Rhodes talked about this on the Marketing AI podcast, and I had already been doing it. And I was like, okay, I'm really doing it now. And so I went and looked at what they did, and it's fascinating because you train it on, like, I train it on strategy documents. I train it on my own language. I train it on LinkedIn posts. I train it on the kinds of strategy that I resonate with, Blue Sky strategy or Seth Godin or whatever it might be, right? And then I can just go and ask it a question. Say, okay, I'm thinking about this. What am I missing? What am I not missing? Right. And so now I have something, I shouldn't say somebody, I have something that can, it's like therapy, right? Like, it's like, it feeds back. Oh, you said this, but I think you might want to, because I used it this morning actually, because I got an email from somebody like, how do I respond to this? I just copied it and it's like, you might want to respond this way. The secret trick, I think, to this is not taking verbatim what it's telling you back, but to use it as an evaluation tool. And one of the tricks that I've done over the last probably 6 weeks or so is I'll ask it to evaluate itself. Like, I'll get the answer, have the whole conversation, and then just say, hey, evaluate this conversation. Like, based on what I think the outcome is, 1 to 10.
Right.
And it's funny because it'll give itself like a 7, and it'll say we could do this better. It's like, oh, okay, even better. I think as a thinking partner, it's revolutionary. Like I'm blown away. I took a bunch of copywriting frameworks, and I built a custom GPT, and I can take any piece of content that I want to evaluate and go evaluate this. Which framework is this trying to do? And tell me how to improve it. Is it AIDA? Is it some other request or whatever? It's all these different frameworks. And then I can match it to the goal. Okay, this is a promotional email, so we probably should use AIDA or some version of it. We didn't write the headline right. Or, okay, here's the ICP. This is like, I did this yesterday. We had a piece of copy, and I'm like, something's bugging me about this. So I threw it in. And I was like, based on the ICP, what's going on with this email, basically, right? And it's like, here's the problem. The problem is that this line is a little too informal for this senior executive audience. I'm like, that's it, right? Okay, I didn't ask it to rewrite the line. I can rewrite the line. That's I don't need it to write for me. I can write,
right?
But it's thinking and it's feeding back. So therapy, like the kind of classic talk therapy is kind of what I think I'm using it for. I'm not using it for therapy. I have an actual therapist, but she's safe. But from a business therapy standpoint, it's like, am I crazy? What am I missing? That's one of my favorite questions to ask. What am I missing? Here's my goal. Here's the thing. What am I missing? So I think as an assistant, as each of us, and all of a sudden now the quality of my work goes up. My productivity goes up. I'm not wasting time. I have the ability to communicate with executives and others much more easily. I can do some basic data analysis as long as you don't go crazy. You got to be careful.
Right.
And again, as long as you go into it thinking, it's going to hallucinate, like it's going to. And I'm okay with that because I'm not trusting it for output. It's helping me create, it's helping with processing inputs. And I'm talking specifically now about like ChatGPT, but like Notebook LLM, like it's a mind blower of what that thing can do. Like it's just kind of crazy. And, again, it could go on and on because I'm so passionate about this, but like on the Third Door Media website, I was like, we should have some basic like marketing lead gen calculators. So I was like, I'll just have Claude build it because apparently Claude's good at code. And it took, I don't know, maybe 3 hours, including all the debugging. And I had 4 new calculators that we launched on the website. Like, it's just like, wow. Like I didn't have to go to my IT team. I didn't have to I could just do it. Whether I should be doing it's another story. But again, I'm like, I do this at night. And it's like, anyway, so I think that if you frame AI properly, think about the capability. Again, it's like anything, map it to the capabilities that you need, have an open mind, understand the limitations. It can be very, very powerful. There's so many risks here though, that I'm really concerned about. I've coached some of the people on my team, like you need to invest time in this because at some point, and it's going to continue to improve, right? Like I think we all agree, like it's as worse as it's going to be on any given day. And then it just goes from there. The issue is frankly, like if you're a mid-level marketing manager, you're at risk. I mean, I'm at risk too. We're all at risk, but like anybody kind of mid-level down is at risk. And it's like, well, okay, you're at risk, but also you can become like you have infinite knowledge now at your disposal. Like I talked about the copywriting thing, like become a great copywriter, use it to train yourself. Like the other night I was thinking about instincts, how do I hone my instincts? Okay. You'll love this one. So I built a game GPT, and it's a level game where you give it a problem and the whole mission of the game is to test your instincts. And the way it works is it gives you you give it a scenario and it says here, this is the challenge that you're faced with, and you have to answer it, and then it evaluates your answer, and then when you're ready, it goes to level 2 and it increases so level 2 is a little harder, level 3 is a little harder. I've been playing with this in context of challenges that I have in my work, and again, I'm not asking it for answers, right? I'm using it as a partner, which is who would I go who in the world could I pay? And how much would I have to pay them to help me hone my instincts? Like I can just do it. Like I'm laying in bed going like, I don't know, like I had this problem today. Did I solve it right? This is what happened. So I think that's where I'm focused on AI today. Right. I will tell you, so I'm down here in Raleigh, North Carolina. There's a conference series called All Things AI. They had a meetup the other night at the museum downtown. More than 500 people showed up for a Tuesday night meetup. So we're here, right? This is happening. I don't know if it's gonna change the whole world or whatever, but like it's a tool that I think anybody practical looks at and goes, okay, how do I extract value out of this tool? How do I apply it to the work that we're doing? And how do I, if I'm thoughtful and ethical, how do I not abuse it, right? And like that's part of the challenge that I think some of us have. But anyway, I don't know. I could talk about AI all day long. I just
No, absolutely. And I think in next 3 to 5 years, AI is going to be the game changer. Especially when we talk about customer acquisition, especially we talk about content creation, especially when we talk about the outreach or building trust with consumers. It will certainly help. It will help you to design things, probably not execute. It might be from a design element. It's a great tool, but at the end of the day, execution is something that we all have to go through. What we want to do.
It's going to be wild. I think the agent stuff is kind of the next version of like, whoa, what does this mean? What can you do with it? So we're going to learn as a society real quick because it seems like it's here.
Right. 100%. But now let's talk about something about the acquisition of Third Door Media by SEMrush. We have closely followed this space, and I see there's tremendous opportunity for marketers and MarTech. How do you envision this collaboration shaping the future? I know it's too early to comment, but from a broader perspective, what excites you the most about this new chapter?
I mean, look, what a lot of people don't know about Third Door Media is it's an 19-year-old company, effectively a family-run company. Chris Elwell was the CEO. He started with Danny Sullivan. Danny retired in 2017, so Chris has run it since then by himself. With my help and Leslie Bacon, our head of sales, and all of our editorial leadership. We're a 30-person company, so we're small. And I like to say that we swing above our weight class. We get a lot of leverage. We hire some really smart people. So, but media is hard, and it's gotten harder and harder and harder, right? And so, what's selling Third Door Media, what getting acquired means for us is frankly stability in a really scary, challenging time. Doesn't mean the challenges are any easier necessarily, but we have resources now that we didn't have. We have access to things we didn't have. We have another mission now, right? We have to generate ROI for SEMrush, and we have the mechanisms and products and services, to do that, which is phenomenal. But I mentioned we're going back in person, SMX Advanced in Boston this June. We were not going to do that as a standalone company. It was too risky. We could not go back in person. We tried to make the finance model work as a 30-person company with, challenging margins and a tough market. We're not doing it. At SEMrush, it's a different equation, right? So it's resources and perspective that we have. So I'm thrilled because, we get to keep doing what we're doing, and we have a new partner and a new management team that is really supportive. I think they fully understand. Look, these guys they've built a great brand, right? I mean, you can be a customer or not a customer, of SEMrush, but you look at SEMrush and go, these guys built something pretty special. And so I think there's some synergy in terms of like long-term brand building, investing in community, investing in those things, which I'm thrilled about. So there's a lot of synergy between these things. At the same time, a software company buying a media brand is unusual, I think, at this point. It is. And so we're still trying to figure it out, to be honest, right? We have conversations all the time, like, is this the right thing or is that the right thing? We have great leadership and partners in SEMrush in that they fully understand the value of what we've built with MarTech and SMX and Search Engine Land. And we cannot afford to hurt those things. So it's been very much of a collaboration from that standpoint. And we're finding our feet. I mean, the deal got closed October 16th, I think was the close date. October. So including the holidays, it's been a few months, but wow, like a cannon shot, like we are running as fast as we can. And, cultures are not a perfect fit, but, navigating it, SEMrush is a very, very data driven, really exciting, like the analytics capabilities I have are incredible and the people I have are incredible. Third Door Media, again, we're a small company, very intuitive driven, it's not that we didn't use data, but it was a different mechanism of how you make decisions. And so I think for me, being the bridge between SEMrush and the Third Door Media team and sort of translating a little bit for people, actually, this is how we have to think about this way has been really I said to somebody the other day, it's invigorating. It's definitely challenging, but it's super exciting. And for me, frankly, this is my first time in the seat. So, I want to take it seriously. I want to do a good job. I want to be a steward of our customers, our readers, our sponsors. But I also want to be successful at SEMrush. So it's wild, man. It's super fun. I'm really enjoying it.
No, and I'm really excited to see how this unfolds in days to come. And I'm super happy, and happy for everyone who has made this possible, especially at the Third Door Media part. So Marc, we did speak to a few people at Third Door Media, and something about your leadership, and and we got to know that you have inspired so many people, within the last decade, over the decade that you have worked with them. And I'm sure that you will continue to do so with such an infectious energy that you have. I'm curious to know what motivates you and keeps you inspired. Are there any personal passion or hobbies that fuels your creativity or leadership style?
That's a great question. I think the answer is just sheer, like, curiosity might kill the cat, but it fuels Marc. Like, I'm really curious about unwinding and understanding hard problems. I like both very much the intellectual side of that, but also the execution side of that. Like getting things done. A big science fiction fantasy person. So I draw a lot of inspiration from reading that kind of stuff. I've tried my hand at writing some things. I'm a very amateur writer, so I'm writing a screenplay and a novel. I think somebody asked me the other day what my superpower is. I think it might be curiosity. I think that might be it. I think that, and then this weird ability to like think very strategically, and at the same time like connect the dot on the tactics. And then I think that being curious and going like, well, how does it work, really fuels me. And I don't really know why, but like I always find myself getting more and more excited the more I talk about like the problem, like what's the problem? How do you solve it?
Right.
I guess I like problem solving, I guess, but I'm just super curious about also like if you looked at my browser, you'd be like, what is it? Why is he reading that? I don't know. It's like, it just was curious. And by the way, no one's ever allowed to see my ChatGPT, not because there's anything bad in there, but because like I ask it all sorts of crazy questions. Like, tell me about this, and then build me a quiz. Do I understand it? Like it never stops. And so, the infectious part, I sometimes go a little overboard and get overexcited, but I think ultimately it's a net. I hope it's a net positive. I don't know.
No, absolutely. Curiosity is one thing. What I personally observed about you, Marc, I think you are as an individual, you are very passionate. You are very driven. Something that's, and that is plus driven by the curiosity itself. But I think you are not the person who would leave something in the middle. You want to take it to the end until the time it is not done. That's where the passion rolls in.
Yeah.
And I think while speaking to you, I think that you are very passionate as an individual when it comes to your work and your work ethics. That's what I'm thinking.
That. And I it's like you can't not be you. And when I try to not be me because I want to try to be something else, it never works out. So a couple of years ago, I remember thinking, therapy helped, by the way, but I remember thinking, lean into who I am. I do get excited. I get super passionate about stuff, and sometimes I'm a little too candid. Somebody said to me yesterday, boy, you're really candid. I just met the person. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's intentional. It just is. Right. I don't really have time for the nonsense, and I'm not going to posture. And by the way, feel free to call me on it. Like, if you think I'm full of crap, then just say, hey, you're full of crap. That's great. I don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. And I'm always one to learn from really smart people. But I appreciate the compliment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marc. Marc, now we know a little more about you. All right. So Marc, thank you so much for sharing your time and insights with us today. I am really, I carry your energy. Your passion for innovation and education has truly, inspired me, and I'm sure people who would listen to this podcast will take a wealth of knowledge from our conversation.
Okay.
We are excited to see how Third Door Media continues to thrive, especially with the, SEMrush, and transform the, I would say, lead generation, demand generation space. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Martech 360 podcast. I hope you enjoyed today. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a marketer of your choice. Let's keep pushing the boundaries of what marketing technology can achieve. Until next time, stay curious, keep innovating. Mark, it was lovely talking to you.
Samarth. Great to meet you as well.
We are signing off from this episode of Data Demand, but the journey doesn't end here. Stay tuned to Martech 360 for more insights and strategies that can help you master the Martech landscape.